Hey everyone, happy Monday. So I'm reading in this my Pamela Archia's unschooling book, and she's talking about how to go about things when you have multiple children and they all have different interests and needs, right? Like how do you juggle that? One kid wants to go to the playground, the other one wants to go somewhere else. I mean, this is like very common stuff. So, but she explains about, you know what? Let me read it a little bit actually. So she says this. She says, now, when I'm reading this, I'm thinking about the other mindset because talking to people, a common thing I hear is this: I don't have time to sit around and worry about what my kid wants to do. They're gonna do what the fuck I say, and that's it, right? That's one way. That's an option for sure. Um, to exert more authority, more control. That's one option. But sometimes it's like, well, at what expense? Like, is there another way that we can do things? Because a lot of times that option is fueled by we're in a rush and we don't have time for this shit. We don't always have time for discussion, and which is fueled by being in the run of the mill, if that makes sense. Like, gotta go to school, gotta get to school at time, because parents too are under the authoritative pressure of society, of their job, right? Of the public school system. You know what I'm saying? Like, you cannot be late. You know, there's no time. There's no time for discussions. It's boom, boom, boom. That's it. Okay? Because if so and so doesn't want to go to school this morning, we don't have time to have an hour-long discussion. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna use the authoritarian. I'm not sure if I'm using the right word. And we're gonna whip their ass if we need to, because they can't be late. Because guess what? If they're late more than a few times, they can get detention or suspended. There's consequences. You know what I'm saying? So there's no time and space, people feel like, I think, to have discussions with children because of the system and pressures that they're under. When you choose to unschool or homeschool, homeschool, unschool, you're making a different choice. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're maybe more so creating more time and more space for your children and to have discussions and to analyze situations and work things out. Which is helping them grow in those skills. So she says, this can definitely be challenging, getting more and more complicated as more personalities are added to the mix. Maybe some want to go out places, or others prefer to stay home. Maybe some love to run around at the playground, or others prefer indoor attractions. Maybe none like the grocery store. Try something, see how it goes, talk about it, and work together to adjust plans accordingly. Try again. Mix things up to see what happens. Think outside the box. Is grocery shopping an incredible challenge every week? Look at online shopping and delivery. Is it really as expensive as you think? Find out. The more facts you have to work with, the better, and keep trying. I find also that when the exhausted parent reads this, it could be upsetting. Like, I don't I don't have time. I don't have the energy to have these discussions, right? It's a total switch of mindset. And no one's saying it's easy. You know what I'm saying? That's why there's books, right? And that's why there's learning and stuff like that. So, and I feel like there was an incident in my family that has really made me think, like, it was a past incident, 20 years ago, something like that. It's all said and done, right? We're not going back to change it. But it came up in discussion, and it was a situation where a family member, adult, had left their tween, or I don't know how old was she, 16 or 15? I don't know if she was even younger than that. Teen or tween, I think it was more like teen. I forgot. With a male family member, because the mom had got tickets to go to an amusement park and had to take two little ones there. The little ones probably, I imagine, in my imagination, I'm thinking they wanted to go, and they were probably, how little kids get, if they think they're going like to Disney World or something, they're like, let's go. So here you have this adult mom, and who knows, I don't know what mindset she was in. She was in her later 40s. Okay, I'm going to be 40, and I know what exhaustion can feel like, at this point in time in life. Especially if you're a single parent, whatever, even if you're not a single parent, whatever. So the older girl, who's a younger teenager, not older, probably like 13 or something, was like, I don't want to go. Now we know that as kids grow in their autonomy, it can get more like difficult when a kid says, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I'm like, I imagine that she probably wasn't like easily swayed. I would imagine that if the mom was like, oh, come on, sweetie, let's go, because I don't really want to leave you. I could imagine that wasn't the situation, and then she would have been like, okay, mom. I don't think that's how it went. It probably was more like, I'm staying. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm staying. I'm not going to that amusement park. So here the mom is in between a rock and a hard place, right? And you have some people say, well, I would beat her ass. I would beat her fucking ass. And she's going to get in that car and she's going to go. And I don't give a fuck what, right? So, imagine you're in your 40s and you're beating a 13-year-old girl's ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. That doesn't seem like too effective. It seems damaging, So I think that there's probably like a lot of ways that it could have went. There could have been more conversation before the date was coming, or it's like there's a lot of missing information. It's just like, well, or did the tickets have to be used that day? You know what I'm saying? Did they expire that day and have to be used? Like, or how many conversations happened in order to get the girl to go? Or maybe the mom trusted who she was leaving her with, because what had happened was the young girl claimed, as she got older, she told her mom, she unveiled that she had been raped. So, which she hadn't told her mom, at that time. So, who knows? Did the mom think that the guy was trustworthy to leave the, young girl with? Did the mom, was she just exhausted and just was like, you know what? I'm not even going to fight with you. Fine. If you want to stay, just stay. Yes, we don't know. But I know that being almost 40 years old, we can get to a place where we feel like we're too exhausted to have conversations, especially if you're juggling everything, like working and all that stuff. We can easily feel like we're too exhausted to have conversations with these tweens or teenagers. But, we have to get the we're running out of time thing out of our head, because feeling pressured by time and all these things is what's really fucking with us too. Pamela Rickia talks about that on her Unschooling podcast. They have one specifically for feeling like you're running out of time. Because feeling like you're running out of time, this is where that more authoritarian, like, do what I say or else is, really, I think comes into, like, lack of patience. So anyway, she goes, how the members of the family interact isn't something that has one right answer. It's a process. And remember, things change over time. Interests change, circumstances change, their independence grows, etc. Even if things have been going pretty smoothly for a while, they'll change. Play and tweak and try things out together. Always work with those involved. One thing I found really helpful when the kids were younger and we were trying to figure out a plan for something was to talk to each of them individually, giving each of them my focused attention. I'd find out why they did not want to do X. If they didn't, I'd ask if they did or didn't want to. So she would ask their opinion. Okay. And a lot of people don't do that. They're like, ask their opinion. Hell no, right? If they didn't want to do the said activity, I'd ask if they were amenable to X, Y, a modified version of X. That modification may be my idea or one of their siblings. I'd ask for their ideas. And I just want to say something else. A lot of times I think we treat everything like an emergency, and we have to stop and say, does this really have to be done right now? Does it? Does it really have to? Is there time for discussion? I think oftentimes we'll find that the thing isn't an emergency, because people often bring that up. Well, like, if we're in an emergency or if there's a dangerous situation, we don't have time to talk. They just have to know that they got to listen to me. That's a different situation. You know what I'm saying? And most situations don't call for that, I think. So if they didn't, I'd ask if they were amenable. A modified version, I'd ask for their ideas. Then chatting with the next child, I could quickly explain their siblings' point of view, helping them learn about each other and how they felt about it. Even if it took a number of chats, usually pretty short, over a few days back and forth with each child, I'd get a clear picture of what their needs were and wishes, and most often we could find something that would work for everyone involved. Sometimes the plans got quite elaborate. We were all learning. With this process, not only do the children feel heard and understood, but they also have time and space to think, especially for quieter personalities, ones who may be uncomfortable when expected to speak up and think on the spot. Group decision making can be challenging, right? That made me think about group decision making, that's it made me think about what they may have to do, like in their jobs, you know what I'm saying? Ease into that when it seems appropriate. Sometimes when I thought there would be a general agreement, I would bring up the plans when we were all together and we worked through the details. More learning. Their abilities to analyze situations, consider everyone's needs, and find workable paths forward grew steadily. All right. Anyways, in the last sentence in this chapter, she says, or section, she says, this process is about developing their trust in you. Now that's opposite from kind of like how I grew up, because an often theme I remember growing up was how my mother emphasized how she needs to develop trust in me. So that's the opposite way, like the parent isn't developing trust in the 12 or 13-year-old. It would be like, say she'd be like, she would do this thing where like I could go to my friend's house, which was right around the block. Basically our backyards kind of connected, or met, but it was like we lived on a block, so I'd have to walk around the block to get their house. So anyways, she'd be like, I was older already by this time. I think I was I was probably like 12, 11 or 12 maybe. She'd be like, you can go there, but you have to call me or you have to come check in every half an hour. That's annoying. Who wants to check in every half an hour? I'm around the block at my friend's house, I don't know. I probably got in trouble for not calling sometimes because I remember having discussions like, how can I trust you the next time if you're not going to do the right thing, Yeah. It wasn't focused on the child developing trust in the parent. The child needs to trust you. Anyways, what I'm saying is not a whole freaking theory, a all-encompassing theory on parenting or anything like that, okay? Because, yes, that's not what I'm saying. But I think that in the way I was raised, that might have been the wrong focus. As a parent, me personally, when my kids have been outside for a bit, and I'm like, I check my inkling, my discernment. I go, you know what? I'm going to go check on them, see how, what's going on out there. Generally speaking, I can hear them from my window or whatever. But I get up, I get out my house, and I go walk around, and I see how's it going and what's going on. I check in, I check in. I don't make my kids check in. They're not paying attention to the time. They're playing, you know what I'm saying? And things like that. I watch, I go check in. So, and as I got older, maybe like, I think even when I was in college, in my younger 20s, she'd be like, if you're not going to come home, call me. Well, guess what I was doing in college? Like partying here and there. And I'd end up sleeping over my boyfriend's house or the fraternity house. And where my boyfriend lived or whatever. And so, I wouldn't come home. But guess what? I would forget to call. Or maybe, maybe I got drunk and I went to bed and I just forgot to call. Like, I don't want to call my mom when I'm tipsy, at 12 o'clock at night to tell her I'm not coming home. It wasn't at that age and at that time, it wasn't my priority. But it was always like I had to stay focused on her. I had to stay focused on her needs and on making her feel safe, and I'm not saying that it's not, that it would be considerate for me to call and say, hey, I'm not coming home. Like, don't worry, which I had done if I remembered. But many times I just simply didn't remember, I don't know if she called me or not. I don't think she called me. I just thought, has she ever called me? And I just let the phone ring and I never answered. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I don't remember her really like calling me and hitting on my phone. It was kind of like she was relying on me to call her. So it was always like a focus on her and making her feel a certain way and, things like that. Everything was always like about her, like. And when I eloped, because I felt like I basically think on a deeper level, I felt like I had to escape or leave, and maybe it was my only way. But I don't think I was thinking about that consciously. But when I eloped and I was 25, I think, 24, 25 years old, I knew that I didn't want to call her and tell her because I knew she would be angry. with me, you know? So, of course, like when she did find out, when I did tell her, it was all about her. It was like, oh my, like, you didn't even think to tell me and blah, 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 you know? And when then I was pregnant with my first. When I was pregnant with my second, we took a trip back to New Jersey, and I told everybody, we were at like a cookout or a barbecue outside, and I told everyone, hey, I'm pregnant again, you know. And she immediately got up and walked away and made it all about her and was crying, like, you couldn't even tell me, I guess, because she wanted to be told first. So basically, like, she expects that everything should revolve around her and how she feels, you know. Did you ever think about how I would feel? That's the main theme of my life with my mother. Um, yeah. So this thing about having the process of raising kids is helping them develop trust in you. That's opposite. Sorry, this stupid fly is flying around here. So anyways, yeah, that's all I wanted to share this morning. Sorry I'm shaking my camera around so much. And she says, the result is when your children know they can trust in you, it develops a strong, connected relationship with, with each of your children. So, yeah, that's all I want to share. Have a great day.